And we are live. Hello, everybody. How you guys doing tonight? Thank you for being here. Welcome to another Inhumanoids Live. I'm your host, Barton Nunnelly. As always, your co-host, my beautiful wife, Latisha.
Hi, everybody.
Now, we've been away for a while. I've been sick for a couple of weeks. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. But I'm better now, about 95%. So thought we'd come on. We have an amazing guest tonight that's sure you haven't heard a story like theirs before. And before we get started, I want to make sure you have any roofing needs. There's a man to turn to right there. Larry Fisher and Sons Roofing. You looking for something good to read?
Christmas present.
Christmas gift for a loved one, Alone in the West by Wolf Brother Roger Gay. Fantastic book. Available at Amazon.com. And so glad to see you all tonight. I see a lot of good people in the chat here. A lot of our Wolf brothers and sisters. Yes, a lot of new people. Welcome to the channel. If you're a subscriber, make sure that you're still subscribed, please. And if you like what you see, be sure and share with your friends. Honey, we'll get started with the prayer request this week, okay?
Well, first of all, I want to start out with saying thank you guys so much for praying for Bart and sending all your prayers for him.
Thank you so much.
He had the CT scan last week. Everything come back negative on that. He said that his brain is fine, which still a little iffy on that information, but they said
they might have misread.
I think they misread. But anyway, he is okay on that. He does have some sinus issues we're going to have to work on that could be possibly causing his migraines. We're not sure. We're waiting to get a hold of the doctor tomorrow. So hopefully we'll have some full information tomorrow on that. I want to say happy birthday to Truth Walker. I'm so sorry I missed your birthday, girl. Things have just been going crazy. I did call you. I left you a message. I'm sorry I missed it, but happy birthday. I know it's a little late, but I'm sorry. I want to get to the prayer list now. We need to say prayers for Mark Staten. He's a new wolf brother. He became a wolf brother a couple weeks ago. It was more like a month and a half ago that Mark Staten become one of our new wolf brothers. So congratulations. Welcome to the family. You'll always be part of us as long as you want to be. And need to say prayers for Mark. He hasn't been feeling very well lately. Been a little tired. So prayers for him. Prayers for Mark Staten's friend, Darlise Watts, and her family. Prayers to Henry, who is on chat. Carrie, who is our guest tonight, her daughter Leah, her husband David, Andrew Settle, Gina Cook's mom Virginia, and grandson Sebastian. Hope he's doing well, doing a lot better. Bart always has to help me with this one.
Tucklow Nishoba
is in renal failure. His son Bo is asking for prayers. Angie Napier and family, Nadine Bush Smith, Nick Keen's healing prayers for his buddy Dewey, brother William Bays, Jeff Boyles, he's not doing real well, Heidi Hess, Blouser's daughter Janelle, Melissa Panay, Sam Burton, and Truth Walker's mom and dad. So that's our new prayer list. And guys, please. Yeah.
Triacle 10 says his dad just passed away.
Oh, I'm so sorry
to hear that, my friend.
So definitely prayers for Triacle.
Yes, definitely. See so many good people here tonight. Scott, Gary, how you guys doing?
I need to do this.
Cal, how you doing, little brother? Good to see you in the chat. Roger, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Sister Catherine, brother William, hope you're doing well.
I need to say happy birthday to our grandson, Jackson, who's 9 years old today. We love you, Bubby. We miss you so much. Happy birthday, Ristall. Dustin Jones, my son. And thank you guys for the prayers. He got a job. He got a really, really good job. And I'm so proud of him. And just thank the Lord he got a job. So Love Cat, Heather Ann, Felicia Humphreys, Girl in Her Gang, and Truth Walker. And that's all the birthdays I have for December. But if I missed you and you have one in December, contact me and I'll put you on here. I won't give out your date, the day you were born, just the month you were born. So happy birthday to December birthdays.
Well, hello, Sister Sherry, and Brother Joe Camelman's in the.
Oh, hey, Joe.
He's in the chat
Jenny,
tonight.
Jenny,
Night
hello.
Stars, Brother Roger.
Hi, Jenny with the G.
Jenny with the G, how you doing, hon? Sister Anna, hello. Hope you and Kev and Tiffany are all doing well. Sister Crystal, wow.
Hi,
So
everybody.
many great people in the audience. Prospector, how you doing? Brother JD, how you doing, man?
Scott.
Jeff Bulls, Wolf Brother Jeff, how you doing? Hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. I know Jeff did.
Sean Garcia.
I think he cooked about 100 turkeys.
Henry, my grandson got his first buck this morning, 12 years old. Wow.
Oh, wow.
Good job.
Congratulations to him. Hello, Scott. David Blaylock.
Night
Justin Beal, how you
stars.
doing, brother? Hope your mom's doing all right. James Leto. Sober Carper.
That's a new name.
That's a new name. Welcome to the channel. Hope you like what you see. And everyone, thank you so much again for being here. I know we've been missing here in action here lately, but we're back. We're ready to get things back on track. We have a fantastic guest tonight. We have a couple that have been on the run from Bigfoot for 9 years, and they've already moved to 4 different houses in 4 different states, starting in Virginia. They moved to Kentucky, trying to escape Bigfoot, which is a bad idea. Then they went to Tennessee, and now they're in Indiana. So without further ado, thank you so much, Sister Catherine. Let's say hello to
Thank you, Catherine.
yes, thank you, to Carrie and Dave. Let's bring them on.
Oh, hello.
Carrie, Dave.
What's up, people?
How are you?
Tired. Still
Yes.
trying to unpack, and just tired of moving. Tired of running. Tired of moving.
Yeah.
And
Right.
this is it.
Moving's a drag. As
Can't do it
everybody probably
anymore.
knows.
No, this is it.
Hey, I'm normal, and thank you for the message you put out the other night. We appreciate you
that.
being a gentleman about that. We
Right.
sure do appreciate somebody
Hello, Cryptidville, Brother Bart.
coming forward and
Telling the truth for once,
telling
right?
the truth. That's right. So
All right, Carrie. So you guys have
Amen.
been from Bigfoot for 9 years. It started in Virginia, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Well, we were talking while we were waiting for the show to come on. We believe that it really might have started after we left Virginia and moved to. We were in North Carolina for a short time, about a year, right outside Camp Lejeune, and we were in the country. We were renting a small trailer, and at nighttime we were actually hearing something knock on the wall, and the wall was what, Dave, like 9 feet in the air.
Yeah.
And we kept thinking it was an electrical problem, it was plumbing. We debunked everything there was, and there was no explanation. And it was knocking, and we think that's where
Almost the same spot.
and it was always the same spot.
Yeah, it was very odd.
And there was nothing there, and it was loud. And then after that, I started getting very bad migraines, and I got very, very sick, and I, for some reason, was refusing to go to the hospital. And Dave was a lineman at the time, so he'd get up early and go to work. And I don't know why I was refusing to go to the hospital, because that's not like me. If I'm really sick, I'll go, but I don't know. And he came home from work, and he was like, that's it. He's like, I know something's wrong, and you're going to the hospital.
Mhm.
And he took me, and that doctor, you should have seen the look on her face. She sat on the bed, and she put her hand on my thigh, and she told David, she's like, does she have a family? And he said, yes. And she said, you need to call her family right now and get them here right now. She should not be here. She has hours, if that, left to live. And she was whispering that to him because she didn't want me to hear. And I was like, whoa, stop. You're talking about me. I want to know what you're saying. And that is what she told me. My liver, I was a complete liver failure. And the first thing they asked me is if I drank. And I said, absolutely not. I did not drink even 1 drop of alcohol. And she said I had a complete liver blockage. My liver had been completely shut down. There's this thing called sludge, is what the doctor term for it is. It's like a thick slime. When you start dying, your organs will start shutting down, and this thick slime will start covering your organs because you're dying. That's a part of death. And my liver was completely covered in that. And the doctor said I should not be there. And they called in all kinds of specialists. I was so sick. They had 2 IVs going. They couldn't even do surgery to do the blockage because they didn't think I would survive the surgery. And I was awake, and I felt, I don't know, I just didn't feel myself. I felt like I had a very bad chest ache, stomach ache. And this all started about that time, and they had no explanation. And after about 3 or 4 days of antibiotics and 2 IVs going in each arm, they were able to do surgery and remove the sludge and remove the blockage. But they still have absolutely no explanation, no idea of what caused that, none. And they said they shouldn't have happened. They have no idea.
Wow.
And I don't know.
Do you think it's connected to the appearance of these Bigfoot
Yes.
creatures?
Yes, because right after that knocking started, that morning, the day before he came home from work, about 6 o'clock in the morning, I was going to get up and get something to drink or some chicken broth. I couldn't eat. And I went to get up, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to lay here and go to sleep. If he hadn't come home, I would have just laid there in the bed and died. And it was about 6 o'clock in the morning, and I kept hearing that knocking, and I heard, as clear as I'm talking to you, I heard my name coming from like the doorway of where that knocking was coming from. And when I heard my name, I opened my eyes, like looking around, like who's in the house, and there was nobody. And that's when my intense headache started. And that's kind of, we just talked about that right before, like I said, the show started. We're trying to figure out, like, when did this actually start? But
Right.
I think that's when it started.
Well, I've often warned a lot of people that, I've known this for 50 years, and people are finally starting to listen, that these inhumanoid creatures such as Bigfoot and Dogman and other inhumanoids, they are all, they carry some degree of radiation with them. So
I've heard that. I've heard that.
the human body does not stand up well to any kind of radiation. So this is one of the reasons why so many inhumanoid witnesses have started getting health problems and stuff like that. So take us back, if you will, Carrie and Dave, to the first time that you knew for sure that these things were Bigfoot creatures.
When we moved, right, we were only in that place in North Carolina for about a year, and his contract ended, and they told him if he wanted to continue working that, you know, we were ready to get out of North Carolina. It was just too expensive in the area we were in, and we liked Tennessee, and we liked the Smoky Mountains, so that's where we went. When we bought a really nice foreclosed home in Tennessee, and it was on a couple acres, and the man next door was a farmer, and he sold the property to his son, and his son only had it for 3 months. It was a brand new place, and he just they say he went away. I don't know what that meant. I didn't ask, but we got it, and it was a brand new place, and it was right on the river in the front. There's a little road, country road in the front. We were on a wildlife refuge at the end of our road. There was a road in the front, little country road, railroad tracks, and then the river. And then in the back, it was a few acres of flat field, and then it backed up to the mountains, and it started out slow and just started getting higher and higher. And it went deep into the Smoky Mountains. We were in the foothills, and it was just a beautiful spot. And the house was perfect for us, and that's where we rent. When we were moving in boxes. Well, let me back up a little bit. I grew up in Virginia, at the foothills of the border of West Virginia and Virginia. And when I grew up, we were very poor, so we did not have toys. Our toys was playing outside. We were outside from as soon as it got daylight especially in the summertime or when there wasn't school until dark. And then I hunted with my ex-husband that passed away, oh gosh, like 17 years. So I was very familiar with the woods and the sounds of the woods and everything. So as we were moving in, boxes, it sounded like a bird you would hear in the Amazon, a very loud whistle. And we were carrying boxes in, and then another whistle would come from the other side. And I said to David, I made a joke. I said, wow, I didn't know we moved into the Amazon jungle. And then he stopped and he listened, and there was this really loud whistle. I can't even do it. It was like, doo, doo, doo. It was just weird. And then there would be an answer from the other side, but it was too loud for a bird. And you could just tell it wasn't, you just knew it wasn't a bird. If you knew it, you could just tell.
Too loud to be something so small.
Yeah.
Right.
And the woods were about, the front of our house was facing the little country road and the railroad tracks and the river. And then when you pulled down our long driveway and you park on the side of the house, which was gravel, and the wood line was maybe 30, 40 feet away from the house. And it was thick woods. If anybody's ever been to the Smoky Mountains in the summertime, oh my gosh, it's like the Amazon jungle. It's so thick and viney. You can't even see 2 inches inside there. And that's how it was. We moved in the early spring, and as soon as we moved in, that's when it started. Tapping. So I put we have 2 dogs. I have a service dog. I put him out on the porch, and I'd hear little things hitting the back vinyl siding. And I did not know, the only thing I knew about Bigfoot was, of course, the same thing that everybody's seen, the Patterson-Gimlin film. That's all I knew. I didn't read any books. I'd never even heard of a podcast. I mean, we were outdoor people. We were always hiking, walking, kayaking, fishing. I wasn't into computer stuff. I mean, rarely ever watched TV. We went to church and did stuff outdoors. So I didn't even know anything about Bigfoot or these creatures. I was probably the most skeptical person you could ever meet when it came to these things. David had mentioned it one time, and I laughed at him. I'm like, that is the stupidest thing I have ever heard in my life. I'm like, what is wrong with you? How could you even believe that? I'm like, that does not exist. Like, you're told monsters don't exist when you're growing up. I don't really call them monsters anymore. I call them creatures. But then you see one. There is no box in your head to put this, and we're both still struggling with I have a hard time, even though I know it's real, both of us do, trying to convince ourselves that these things really happened. That they would throw rocks at the back deck. The dogs, I believe, can see them because the dogs would immediately lock onto something. We have a Rottweiler. He's my service dog in a pit bull. And both the friendliest dogs ever, but they're very protective over us. And they were both rescues, so they're more protective. Well, they would lock onto something and just start growling, and a mean growl. And I would go out there and I'd look and look, and I would see nothing. And then I'd go back in, and the back deck, you could be doing the dishes at the kitchen window, and you could see the back deck. It was on the back side of the house where the kitchen was. Well, I was always in the kitchen, and I'd hear little things hitting. I hear like ding, ding, ding. And I'm like, what the heck is that noise? And I go outside and look. Well, they were pebbles. There was a little creek, maybe 2 feet wide?
Yeah.
Yeah, about 2 feet wide that ran through the middle of the back field. It was about 5 acres of just clear nothing, and then a creek, and it was only a few inches of water in it, but there were pebbles from the creek, and they were all over the deck. And the longer I'd leave the dogs out, the more intensified their growling would get, and the more intense the rocks would start getting thrown. So I would have to bring them in.
What about when you were out there with Casimir and all of a sudden the tree fell?
Oh yeah, I went. There was a there was in the back behind the house. It used to be, oh gosh, I don't even know how long ago, 50 years ago. I don't know. I can't even get this, but there was an old logging road, and I called it the Gauntlet because that is where they would cross over from the river in the front of the house to the back of the mountains at night, and they'd go back and forth at night and early, back and forth. And we had a little pebble gravel sidewalk, like a little pea gravel sidewalk that was closed in with lawn, what are those things?
Landscape timber.
Yeah, landscape timbers. And you could hear them at night because our wall, this was a modular home, so the walls were paper thin. You could hear them crunch, 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 all walking back and forth during, the prime time was between 10 and 11, and then 2:30 and 4:30, and all night long. And you could hear it walking. The wall was paper thin. So I was out there one day. I used to go back. I called it the Gauntlet. There was two big mountains. They're actually big hills. And in between, almost looked like the letter V, and it was flat, maybe 15 feet wide. But back there, the creek got thicker, and it was really, really pretty and peaceful back there, and it was just beautiful. And I like to go back there, and especially in the fall and winter time when all the leaves are off the trees, and my dog, he would run up and down the mountain, and that was just his way of having fun and getting exercise. And there was nobody around. So I started getting this feeling almost like the way I would describe it is if you're watching the Jaws movie and that music, that crescendo, like dun dun, the building up, something's going to happen. Well, the more I would go back there, the more that feeling would happen. And my dog would start locking onto something, and he would start growling, and I could feel something because my hair would stand up on my arm so close to me that I should have been able to see it. And I would look and I would see nothing. And finally, one time I got so scared because I just knew I would have bet my life on something standing there. I could not see it. That I yelled out loud. I said, I don't know who you are or what you are, but I know you're standing there. Be gone. In Jesus' name, be gone. And I knew it was there, but I could not see it. And it got to the point where I couldn't go back there anymore. It literally pushed me out. It did not want me back there. And I decided that I wanted to go back there one day anyway. So I started taking my dog. It was 2:00 in the afternoon, a weekday. There was not a soul around. And all of a sudden, this tree was what? How tall do you think it was?
30 feet, maybe.
30 feet tall. So I get halfway across this 5-acre field behind our house. I'm midway. It's like 2:00 in the afternoon. All of a sudden, this tree, there's no wind. It's summertime. It's as hot as can be. There is no wind at all. And all of a sudden, this tree starts shaking back and forth so hard. And I froze like, what the heck? Like, why would a tree be shaking when nothing else is moving? And if you've ever had a dog on a leash, and they do that stance, my leash was all loose, and all of a sudden the leash pulled tight and was like flying a kite. And it was like, bink, the leash got real tight. And my dog puffed up and did the stance and started growling. Well, I saw like a black hand, but it was about 20 feet from me. So that's all I could see was fingers wrapped around this tree, at least 9 feet in the air. And I was just frozen in shock, like, I couldn't move. I didn't even know what was going on. And the tree was shaking so hard back and forth. Finally, the whole tree pushed down, a live tree. Oh, the tree was probably, I don't know, 4 foot around. Did you say 4 foot around, you think?
No, it wasn't. Maybe 6 inches. It wasn't like huge. But the thing is, it fell all of a sudden in the middle of nowhere.
Pushed right down. Right down towards me.
No wind day. It just.
What were you gonna say?
Well, I was going to get ready to say these things can be standing right in front of you, Carrie, and you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. When that happened, I was so scared I couldn't believe it. So I drug him back to the house, and my first time that I saw one was very, very shortly after that. I've always had an ability to, ever since I was a kid, I say, be in the wrong place at the right time. If that makes sense. Like it's just, I don't know, always been able to do that. And it was about 3:30 in the morning, and I was in a very, very deep sleep. I only know this because I actually heard myself snoring. I couldn't wake up. So I woke up my eyes just bing, woke up. And I almost felt like the house was on fire, like danger, danger, get up now, now, now. So I didn't hear any audible voices, but that's how I was feeling. And David had this handheld spotlight. It was as big as like this one of these old radar detectors. And that spotlight would light up the whole back field. Well, we got it if we had bad storms or no power, so we could look around the house. And I jumped up. We always came in and out the front door, which had like a, I don't know, a little 10 by 10 foot deck. Then the back deck, we had like a 20 something foot deck built. Well, I jump up and I immediately go to the back door. Why? I don't know. I should have went to the front door, but I knew to go to the back door. So I go to the back door and I move the curtain, and I did not open the door, thank God. But I'm opening the curtain and I'm shining this light and I'm painting it across the field. Well, I'm expecting to see deer because there was always deer out there. And I'm going all the way across the field and I'm like, it's 3:30 in the morning. Why am I awake? What am I like? I'm so tired. What am I doing? And I get all the way across to the creek and I see this bear bent over in the creek. And I see its legs are down in the creek, so I can't see its feet. Well, all of a sudden, I'm like, wow, cool, a bear. But wait a minute, we've never seen a bear. Bears don't come down this far out of the national park. They stay up in the park where the food is. Why is a bear down here? Then all the neighbors that have been here forever said bears don't come down this far. And all of a sudden it stands up and I see hands. And I see hands like past its knees. And I see like hair hanging down from like underneath its armpits. And it's not fur, it's like hair. But I can see, and it's almost like when I hit it with the spotlight, all of the light like sucked into it, if that makes sense.
Absorbed it.
Yeah, like the light didn't reflect off of it. Like all the light like absorbed into it. And I couldn't figure that part out. And I'm looking at this thing. Well, before I have a chance to do anything, it leans its head, and I get a side view of it. It leans its head back. This still shakes me up to this day. I'm shaking even talking about it. It leans its head back and it screams. So it is the loudest thing. It's loud. It was louder than an air horn. I don't even know how the neighbors did not hear this, or they did, and they were just, or they just didn't. They did, and they just used to it, and nobody called the cops. But the houses were pretty spread apart, and everybody kind of just, if you heard something, saw something, you don't say something. That kind of neighborhood, you just mind your own business. And it let out the scream so loud and so long. It sounded like a woman being murdered and her guts coming out, like very guttural, but screechy scream. And it screamed so long and so loud. And I couldn't move. I crumpled over in a little ball in an upright position, like I bent over standing up. And my finger, to make this light work, you have to hold your finger on the trigger. Well, it was screaming so long and so loud, I bent over and I was frozen. I couldn't move. Well, fight or flight, I don't usually get afraid because I've hunted alone. I've hiked 4 miles in the woods and climbed up in a 20-foot tree stand and hunted by myself. I mean, I don't get scared easily, but this was something that I just couldn't even wrap my brain around what was happening, what I was seeing, what was going on. Was this real? Was I losing my mind? All of this stuff is, And it's like all these thoughts are going through your head at like 1,000,000 miles an hour while this thing's screaming. And I'm frozen. I cannot move. Like, and I still don't know why I couldn't move. But when it screamed, I literally could feel all my organs vibrate. Like if you are up to, I read somewhere where somebody said, you're at a concert, you're standing like you're at a real concert, and like rock concert, and you're standing up to a speaker that's 10 feet tall, and you're standing right up against that thing, and the bass on that makes your organs ripple. I felt, and it was like a wave. It started from my head and went all the way down to my toes and rippled. And then after about, I would say a good 15 to probably 20 seconds without taking a breath, this thing screamed. Then I kind of like came to my senses and realized, oh crap, it's still screaming because I have my finger on the trigger. So I took my finger off off the trigger, and the light stopped, and it stopped screaming. And then I was like, I knew, for some reason, I knew exactly what it was. I'm like, holy crap, this is a Bigfoot. I'm actually seeing a Bigfoot. Like, this is what David said he's talked about, tried to tell me about, like, before he saw on TV, like, this is a Bigfoot. And I'm like, okay, before you go telling everybody, including your husband and yourself, that this is a Bigfoot, you have to be 100% sure. I'm the type of person, I don't say something unless I know 100%, without a shadow of a doubt, that that's exactly what I saw and what it was. So I'm like, as much as I don't want to do this again, I got to do it again. So I knew that I was going to shine the light on it again because I wanted to be sure of what I was seeing. So I did. I hit it with the light again, and it had moved up the hill, which was about, 40-degree incline. It started out, and it's wintertime, late January, so there's no leaves on the tree, so I could see clear as day. And I hit it with the light again, and I just saw the side of it briefly because it had moved, oh gosh, maybe another 60 feet away. And I hit it with the light again, and the whole same scenario happened again. And my organs rippled again, even this far away. And we're talking now probably maybe at least a half a football field length away, maybe a little further. And I'm thinking, thank God, if I'm feeling this through an aluminum door, metal door, how would it have felt if I had been outside? And I'm feeling this, my organs ripple and the scream. Well, this time I was kind of expecting it, so I wasn't as frozen as I was before, but still, it's almost like it hit me with something where I was not able to move. And that's what happened. And then after a few seconds, I kind of like if a dog, and they shake it off. It was kind of like I shook it off and I was able to move. And then I let my finger off the trigger, and I just stood there like, oh my God, dear God in heaven, these things are real. Like, I actually just saw a creature that is not supposed to exist. Like, I'm sitting there thinking, like, I believe in heaven and hell. I mean, I guess if you believe in demons, why can't these things be real? This is real. I saw it. And right after that, shortly after that, I went to the doctor for my monthly checkup. I went to the doctor once a month, and I'd been seeing this doctor for a long time, and he kept listening to my heart, and then he'd shake his head, and he'd listen to my heart and shake his head, and then he started scratching his head after 3 or 4 times, and he had this weird look on his face. And I was like, Doc, that's not cool. You're listening to my heart. Why are you making that face? Like, what's going on? You're like, say something. And he said, well, where did this come from? I'm like, and I'm having a panic attack. I'm like, where did what come from? Like, what are you talking about? He's like, you have a very significant heart murmur. Like, when did this happen? I'm like, well, I don't know. You're the doctor. You tell me. And he's like, well, I've been seeing you forever, and I listen to your heart every single month, and I've never heard this before. And I'm like, are you sure? And he's like, well, yeah, I hear listen. And I listened. He gave me the stethoscope, and yeah, I could hear it. And I'm like, well, what caused this? And he's like, I don't know. Normally, they don't just pop up all of a sudden in 1 month out of nowhere. And that happened right after that scream. So I don't know how. But that scream caused that, because I didn't have that before. And that was the first time that I saw one. It had like woody, like if you saw like a really rich brown tree like a rich, I don't want to say black, and I don't want to say mahogany, but a mahogany brown, really rich woody color, and it had hair. When it was standing sideways, it was standing in a position like if a guy's ready to fight, chest poked out, arms sticking out a little bit, elbows, the hands hung below the knees. The only thing I could describe it, and I said this before, the hands were as big as a tissue box, like a Kleenex box, like a rectangle Kleenex box, and they were like an off black gray color. They did not have hair on them. I could see the chest part. I don't know if it was a male or female, but I did see breast, and I did see a little bit of a stomach that did not seem to have a lot of hair on it. Almost, I don't want to say gorilla because I know they're not gorillas, but you know how a gorilla, like their chest doesn't have that much hair on it, their stomach, that's how it kind of looked. I could not see the face because it was a side view, but it had no neck. It was just like, and it wasn't a cone-shaped head. It was just this big, fat, round head on top of these massive shoulders. And we went out there later on to see how high it was, and we estimated, well, because we were looking at the tree in the background, the branch of where it was standing next to, and it was standing in the creek. So what, 8, 9 feet tall? Is that what we determined?
Yeah, I think it was like 9.
About 9 feet tall. Mm-hmm.
Right. David, what did you think about all this when it started happening?
Well, it blew my mind. I didn't, it's still very hard to believe, but I don't believe in coincidences. And with Carrie, all her life, like when we're walking, there's one instance where we were walking the railroad tracks, and her spirit will get called to a certain area. This one instance, we were walking, we walked the railroad track for exercise, and we went into the reserve. And there's something about reserves, by the way. The government has this land for a purpose. All of a sudden, there's land here, land there. There's a reason they have this land protected, and we all know what that is. But anyways, we were walking the railroad track, and all of a sudden, Carrie stops and's like, and she just starts walking down.
So crazy.
She comes off the track and starts walking down the hill.
And I don't even know why.
And she doesn't even, it's like, and this ain't the first time something like this has happened.
I didn't even say a word. I just took off.
Like she got drawn right to this bed that was all woven with sticks, like perfectly, like you would see a basket, all perfectly woven.
Yep.
On the ground, just this perfect bed, and I couldn't even believe it. I'm like, well, the hunter must have did this, but it didn't make sense because it wasn't hunting season and the river was so far away, and I just didn't want to believe what it was.
Nobody would ever come across this. It was so hidden. You never found it.
She went through this brush to get to it, and she knew exactly where this was.
Yeah, I had to walk through this knee-high brush and briars just to get to it.
And it wasn't bed. It was bedding. It was I don't know, it was for a baby. I don't know, but it was a bed, significant size. I don't know. How big you think that was?
Oh gosh, 10 feet long. Probably, I don't know, 6 feet wide. I don't know, 6 feet wide. I took pictures of it. I got pictures of it too somewhere. I got so many pictures.
There was another one we found, an igloo.
Listen to this one.
An igloo, like I said, man, it's got to be a beaver.
I started laughing. I said, "What?"
It looked just like an igloo.
And I said, "What? A 12-foot tall beaver?"
This was right on the reserve in Newport. Right on. We were walking
in Tennessee.
Walking the path by the coal just past the coal chute and all that. The people that know Newport. And all of a sudden, we stumbled upon it, and it was a well-built little hut.
All woven together, almost like a checkerboard woven together. It was
this wasn't
so big.
This wasn't no ground.
No
ground.
Oh, it was what?
This was.
I'm 5'6", and it was over my head.
Yeah, it was huge,
and it was probably
It had a little hole in it, but I just couldn't believe that it would be so close to where some people walk.
But nobody goes down. Nobody
But
went
not a
down.
lot of people. I couldn't comprehend it. It was just like,
And
this can't be.
yeah.
I kept wanting to tell myself this
Mhm.
got to be an animal of some sort, but an animal couldn't.
Oh, wait, tell them about the bone pile. And then so when you're walking down the railroad tracks, in the beginning, see, you can, in front of our house, you can go across the little country road, which is directly, and we had a big front yard, like an acre, then the one little lane, one road, then there's a little bit of grass, maybe 15 feet, and then you go walk up this little incline, and then there's the railroad tracks, and you can walk the railroad tracks right to the reserve. And that's where we walked for exercise, because it was beautiful down there.
Yeah.
And there was never any people. And it went into Douglas Dam and Cherokee Lake, and it just looked like a bowl, and all the Smoky Mountains just, it was like a big bowl went up around it, and you were on this dinner plate of just peace and beauty. And we just like to walk there. And as you walk down the railroad tracks, the further it was about a mile down the end of the road. As you walk down the railroad tracks, it starts to get more remote. And then all of a sudden you get these real tall, like, banks, and it starts to get really viney, not on the railroad tracks, but on the sides. And then where nobody can see anything because the banks are like, oh gosh, 10 feet high, and there's no houses around. We stumble, or I did. I'm like, hey, David, look over here, and tell him what it is.
Oh, all kinds of bones, turtle shells, bones,
Pelicans, dogs,
Wow.
oh, just everything you
deer,
can think of.
so many deer, and it was all in like one area.
Well,
Wow.
Carrie, Celeste wants to know, why is it following? Does it want to harm you? Do you feel like it's wanting to harm you, whatever these things are that were following you at one time?
I think I've asked myself that question probably 10 times a day or more until I started driving myself crazy, and I had to just literally give it to God because I couldn't answer that question. And I think, and me and David talked about that too, and that is an excellent question. I think that David said this to me first, but I already thought this. He thinks, and I do too, that for some reason, and I don't understand why, when I was a child, I had a near-death experience. I was in a coma, very sick for about 10 days, and I left my body, and I could see myself up in the corner of the room looking down, and my grandma was there, and she was a Mormon. I'm not, but she had a bunch of people praying over me, laying hands on me and praying over me. And 30 minutes later, I woke up. I had a temperature of 107, and I was packed in ice, and I wasn't expected to live, and I could see my body.
Kidney disease that she should not have.
Yeah, the kidney disease, and I woke up, and the kidney disease was completely gone, and I could see myself. Ever since then, I've put off this kind of energy where I attract things. I'm like a battery. I put off an energy where things are attracted to me. And I think that they can feel my energy and I can feel their energy.
I think they can access her energy too. They use it.
Yes, they do that a lot. When they're around, I get sick, like bedridden sick.
Headaches. I know you're talking about headaches.
Mhm.
Like, it was really bad in Newport.
In Kentucky
was really bad.
Very bad.
With the headaches for me, myself.
And he's a man that never gets a headache.
Yeah, and I personally hadn't gotten a lot of headaches up until we moved to Tennessee, and that's when the headache started.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys this.
Pretty bad.
What happened in Tennessee to make you want to run away, think you can run away from these things and move to Kentucky?
Well, it was like after that scream, he had started, it was right before COVID hit, or right around that time, and he just wasn't making his work, being a lineman and stuff, his work was too inconsistent, and we wanted to have a better life with the better income. So, because we don't have anybody to help us if anything should happen, and we're getting older, so we needed to start trying to save some money. So he wanted to change careers, so he started truck driving school. Well, truck driving school, you're gone. And in the beginning, you're going to be gone overnight. I didn't want to be gone. I didn't want to be alone. So one night after he wasn't home at night, and he told me he was going to be going overnight, and I was like, "Oh, I don't want to be alone."
She was dread when I told her.
Oh, I was freaking out. I even actually contemplated getting my animals and going to a hotel, leaving the house because I didn't want to be there. Well, because there was nobody around. Our house was there was nobody there. There was nobody around. Well, one night I heard something stomping around on the front porch. I don't know. My sister, I know you're not supposed to do this, but my sister does. My sister in South Carolina, in Beaufort or Beaufort, she does psychic readings, and sometimes I've had the abilities to see things in my head that come true. But I know that God says you're not supposed to do that, so I don't do that. I try not to do anything like that. But sometimes I can see things and then they happen. Well, I could see in my head this little kid, but it looked like a little Bigfoot, like a chimpanzee, maybe 5 feet tall, high step marching around on the front deck, and I could hear it. And I'm thinking, okay, you're just scared. You're home alone. You're already scared. You're making this up. Well, after that first scream, what got so scared, I had gotten rid of all my weapons and stuff. My husband had passed away, so I didn't hunt anymore. And I told David, I said, I want a gun. You're going to be gone, and I'm scared. So we got a 50 caliber rifle with the scope on it. And I had it loaded, and I had it underneath my bed. Well, it's a modular home, so you got to walk by the front door to get to the bedroom. And, like I said, I have my Rottweiler. He's my service dog. This dog is glued to me. Well, all of a sudden, I hear his high step marching. It's like 10 o'clock at night, and I could see it in my head. And I'm like, and I'm hearing it, and I'm thinking, you're scared, you're just hearing it. It's this, it's the wind. I'm trying to go through every single, and then my dog, he started going towards the front door. Well, I put the leash on him real quick because I can't drag a 130-pound Rottweiler across to a bedroom if he wants to. He's going to do what he wants to do. So I put the leash on him real quick, and of course the leash tightens up real tight, and I hear this high step marching. And I had a bad habit after that scream, the back door and the front door, I would always turn it. And the doors.
Jiggle it. You'd always jiggle it.
Yeah.
Make sure it was locked every night.
And they would
Good copy.
They'd make this like clicking sound, the back door and the front door. They go click, click, and it was loud. So all of a sudden,
they know your thoughts.
Yes.
They know what you're going to do before you even do it.
So yeah, exactly. So I went to go to bed thinking, okay, it's all in your imagination. It's all in your imagination because you were scared. And all of a sudden, after I convinced myself it was in my imagination, I see the front doorknob turning, and it's going click, 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 just like I was doing. And I was like, all of a sudden, my heart just went, and I started like hyperventilating, and I started dripping in sweat, just snap of a finger. I guess it was a full-on panic attack, and I've never had a panic attack in my life. I was scared. I can see where they say people pee their pants. I was so scared. I literally thought I was going to pass out from hyperventilating. So I said, okay, Carrie, I said this only in my head. I said, calm down. This is really happening. Get control of yourself. Go get your gun. The second I finished that sentence, I had an answer in my head. And I listened to one podcast where somebody said it sounded robotic. I know why they said it and I'm like, robotic, it doesn't sound, but it does. It's the way they said it. They said it extremely slow, very precise. They want to make sure that you understand every word that they are saying, and there's no mistake. And they said loud and clear. And if you took a drill and drilled right down the middle of my head, I guess my soul is where this voice came from. It was a voice in a thought. So if you ask me if it was male or female, I don't know. I couldn't hear like, you know, like my accent or a Southern accent. I couldn't, or country, I couldn't, but it was a voice and it wasn't my own. And it answered me the second I finished that sentence, and it said, I will never forget this. It's burnt in my brain like a record over and over. And I played it a million times, and it said, just like this, do not bother. It won't do any good against us. And I'm
Talking about
thinking,
getting
okay,
the gun, right?
yeah, well, yeah. As soon as I finished saying, "Go get your gun," and what do I think? And I'm thinking that whole you just heard that whole sentence, and I'm thinking us, like, oh my God, like us. There's more than one. Like, holy crap, us. So what do? I dragged my dog to the room 5 feet away, literally drug him. He would not leave. He was growling the meanest growl I've ever heard that dog. And normally a dog would get a stripe down the middle of their back. Every hair on his body was electrified, sticking out like a puffer fish. It was crazy. And I drug him to that room. And what do I do to make things even crazier? I start laughing like a freaking nut. I start sitting there laughing because I'm thinking, who in the world is ever gonna? Okay, now I'm hearing voices in my head. Who am I going to call? What am I going to tell the police? Oh, hello, I have a Bigfoot at my door. I mean, what am I going to say? Am I going to open the door? Of course not. I got a gun. Now I'm scared to open the door. Whoop-de-doo. What's the gun going to do, right? Am I going to blow a hole through the door? I like to see David's face when he gets home and he sees that. No door in the house. So I start praying. The only thing I could think of to do is I start praying as loud as I could. I said, in the name, and I was almost at the point of yelling because I was so scared. I was angry. I was angry that they were scaring me. And I could envision a mom like Bigfoot, as crazy as this sounds, coming up to the porch and grabbing the little kid underneath the arm, like the elbow, and yanking away, like, what the heck are you doing up here? You're trying to get us all in trouble. Like, get out of here. Like, ripping the kid away.
See, I don't think that's a coincidence. I think they put off energy that you can actually see them when this is happening, and you're seeing them there. I don't think that's a coincidence that you're actually seeing them, and that's another thing because you've seen things in Kentucky.
Yeah.
She'll describe something that was climbing on the house. You know, that's a whole nother story. But she sees it, not only hears it and feels it, but sees it and knows what it looks like and is.
And right before it happens too, sometimes, and then I'll tell him, and then
this is bizarre.
And then it'll happen. And as soon as I started praying, I said, in the name of Jesus, be gone. In the name of Jesus, be gone. And I said, you're not welcome here. Get off my property. In Jesus' name, be gone. And I was so scared. I didn't even know what to say. But I know if you're so scared, the thing you say, and the Bible says, all you got to do is say the name of Jesus if you can't say anything else. And that's what I kept saying. And as soon as I said that, it was, I mean, you live in the country, it's quiet. It was so quiet. It was deafening quiet. It was like quieter than hearing. It was too quiet. It was like the whole atmosphere just got sucked into a hole, and it was just quieter than quiet. Instantly, as soon as I said that, everything stopped. But it was like,
but it didn't last.
But it didn't last. To answer your question,
couple days maybe, right?
Yeah, it's like every day something was happening. We were eating lunch 2 days after that. Tell them we were eating lunch 12 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, we heard this like
about the ball.
God awful scream.
Yeah, we heard this god awful screme. Yeah, and then this tell them about this ball. Middle of the daytime in our living room.
Well, this was in Newport. We were sitting there, and I was like, you know, I was still in disbelief that they exist, and I was going through it in my head, like, and I said it out loud to Carrie. I said, I wish I could know that they're real. Like, I wish I can actually.
And I couldn't believe
I didn't really want to say that because I know there's power in words.
Yep, and he said it.
Said it. Like I want to believe it, but it's hard for me to believe it. And all of a sudden, the power
everything
shut off.
It was like, and it made a noise, like
slow motion. a power shut off in the whole house.
Everything, TVs, remotes, everything, and
Then we
everything
seen
was
this
beeping.
ball, then this
Yeah.
orb came
Like the size of a softball.
across us, and just disappeared through the wall.
It was like as bright as like a fluorescent white light.
Oh yeah, the whitest light you could ever.
It was
imagine.
blinding. It kind of shot up out of the floor. We're sitting on a love seat eating and on TV trays, and the love seat had cup holders. So this thing shot up out of the floor at all the same time. And this is like 12 o'clock during the day. And all of a sudden it comes out so quick. It's almost like if somebody throws a ball at your face, you're going to turn your head. So he turned his head real quick,
Yeah.
and that thing just curved, went right past his face. It was the size of a softball.
What I got out of that is they're there. There is no doubt that they're there, and they have some kind of
Oh, and then he said,
special power.
yeah, and then he said, I'm sorry, can you please turn the power back on? And then boom, everything came back on, and everything was beeping, and all different, like TVs, microwave, stove, and you hear beep, 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 everything was doing all these different beeps, and I was like, don't ever say that again.
It was bizarre.
But it was like every night something was happening.
In Kentucky, the banging in
Wait.
Kentucky.
Wait, go back
Okay.
to the Tennessee part. Why?
Yeah, just
Okay.
for a second,
Well,
let's go back to Tennessee, David. So,
Okay.
if you ever think about the reason why that
We
you
left.
would say you asked the Bigfoot to show themselves, you want to see Bigfoot and the
Yeah.
out of the floor. Did you ever think that there was a connection between the two?
After I said that, I knew there was and not only that they're real, because I've heard them when I got up, because I'd get up at 3 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
and I heard
To leave for
I
work.
heard one growl. I heard a growl. I don't know. It could have been a dog man too. I don't know, but I heard a growl in the middle of the night.
More than
It
once.
sent chills down my spine. And
Mhm.
I couldn't even like start my car barely. I was so scared.
Oh,
I
yeah.
couldn't get out of there fast enough. But then I'm thinking, well, I'm running and Carrie's right here. It's so bizarre.
And then they kept messing with our animals.
It messed with our animals, and we were just getting weird sick. And our neighbor ended
Yeah.
up getting cancer and died. And then
All of
another
our-
neighbor, moved
All of
in
our
and
neighbors
died.
around us started dying.
That was another bizarre thing.
Yeah, 3 of our neighbors that we were friends with that lived next to us died. One lady that was friends with me, and she was fine. She texts me and
Just out of
says,
the blue.
yeah, just out of the blue, she texted me and said I wasn't feeling well. I went to the doctor, and he said I had 2 weeks left to live. And I thought it was a joke. I'm like, what? I thought it was a mistake. I'm like, what? And she's like, I'm on my way home now. And this is just when COVID started. So the hospice came and laid all the syringes of medicine on the counter, and they were going to come once a week. Well, they gave her less than 2 weeks left to live. They said that she had cancer, get this, in every organ of her body. And she had just been to the doctor 3 months before and was completely fine. I took care of her every single day. I was there 9 hours a day till she died. It was awful. Lungs, pancreas, stomach.
We had somebody earlier in the chat, Roger, I believe, is talking about the Camp Lejeune water that has been affected. And
Yeah.
do you think it would have anything to do with that, or
No, because we were not on Camp Lejeune. We were off base, like out in the country. We were out in Jacksonville, off Camp Lejeune, but near there. But
Okay.
no,
All
nope.
right. I just wanted
This
to
all
get that
reminds me
question.
so much of one of my friends that I was talking to last year, Claudia Ackley.
Yes.
I don't know if you've heard of her, but she suffered greatly at the
That's very
disease
suspicious.
in Illinois, yes.
Yeah, I was able to talk to her one time, and she was going to call me back. And then the next thing I knew was she's on my Facebook. As I saw R.I.P. Claudia Ackley, I'm like, what? Like, because you know how a lot of times they'll put that for celebrities and people that are fake, and
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that it happened. Yeah, I couldn't believe that. But we
Monday.
left.
I talked to her on a Monday, Carrie, and she was supposed to send me all the videos she had from her room cams. And it wasn't just a Bigfoot. There was all kinds of different inhumanoids that she had video cams, and talked to her
See?
Monday, and she was dead on Thursday.
That's so sad. That's so sad.
Let me ask you
Yeah.
this: when you talked to her Monday, was she sick? Was she sickly?
She had a lot of health problems ever since she moved from California. So she was sick the whole time she was in Tennessee, but sounded just fine. You know, she didn't sound like she's getting ready to die or anything. But it was
Rush.
She said, "Bart, I promise I'll send you all the videos that I have." And
I knew that we had to get out of Tennessee.
There's something wrong about that.
It was just getting worse.
That bothers me.
It was just getting worse and worse, and we left because every single day something was happening, and I couldn't deal with the stress of every single day. It was something different. It was they would tap on the windows. The cat, we have 2 cats, and they're indoor cats, and there was these little like twinkle lights. They look like the mini white Christmas lights. Like if you just run a string of lights across your kitchen counter, like the kind you get from the dollar store, the little mini ones. These little mini white lights, 2 of them. There was always 2 of them. We would see them. But we wouldn't see them just, plain as day. They would try to hide. And I would hear the cats like tearing butt across the house. And the cats usually would sleep with us. Our boy cat sleeps up in the bed. He's ripped the line around, sleeps up in the bottom of the bed. And the girl cat sleeps on top of me. She thinks she's a pit bull. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy. But anyway, we'd hear them running across the house at 3 in the morning. Always 3 a.m. or 3:30. Always that time. And I wake up and I open my eyes and I see my boy cat chasing this little twinkle thing, and it goes, and he is on this, 100 miles an hour, and it shoots right through the wall, and he runs his head into the wall so hard it knocked him on the floor. I thought it broke his neck. He was like shaking, and it hurt him bad. Like he was like trying to shake it off. And I was like, what the heck did I just see? And these things would go through the house, and they were bad in Tennessee all night long. Or the Bigfoots, their famous thing they've done in every house that we've lived in. They tap on the windows, and the cats tear up underneath the blinds, and because we only have mini blinds or window blinds and then curtains, and they dig up underneath the blinds or curtains to see what's under there and look. And then as soon as the cats look, the Bigfoots go completely to the other side of the house, and they just use one finger like tap, 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 because we saw finger marks like fingerprints where they would do one another, and they would do that all night long. There was a fan blade. We had a back deck built on our house in Tennessee, like, because I love to be outside. Not after all this happened. And I couldn't even we built it so the dogs could be out back and I could be out back, and none of that could happen anymore. And we got these fans, outdoor fans. They look like palm leaves. I think I told you about it. Well, one of the fan leaves was broken completely in 2. And they weren't wooden. They were like that stuff you make the deck boards out of, that plastic, I don't know.
Polymer plastic.
Yeah, polymer plastic or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was snapped right in 2. And at nighttime, I could hear something spinning around the fan blades like they were playing with them. And like I told David, shiny pieces of his car were missing. And he was like, I know you're going to think I'm nuts. And I was making fun of him because he's like, more shiny pieces of the top of my car are being pulled off. And I'm like, you're nuts. They're just falling off. And little pieces, shiny pieces of his car kept getting pulled off more and more and more. And then I said, you know what? We're gonna do an experiment, which is probably a stupid idea. I would never recommend doing this. I said, it was summertime. We got this giant watermelon. We cut it in half. This thing is probably 25 pounds. I put it in a Walmart bag trying to carry it with 2 handles, and it was ripping the Walmart bag. I had to hug it like a tree trying to carry it. So I said, we're going to set this thing out right at the edge of the wood line, the back field. The dirt was so dry. It looked like baby powder. You could have blown it away. So I said, we're going to set this watermelon here. And if it's eaten in the morning, then we know it's just wildlife. If it's gone, then we know it's Bigfoot. Let's see what happens. So I said, but don't come out here with me because for some reason, I don't think they like you. So I set this watermelon out there, and I said, but please watch me because I'm terrified to go near the wood line. So I set the watermelon out there, and it was right at the edge of dark, first thing in the morning, like 6 o'clock. We both look out there, and he's like, it's gone, it's gone. So I go out there to the same spot where the watermelon was. Now, if it was a raccoon, a deer, any other animal, it would have chewed it up and ate it right there. There would have been a seed. There would have been a little tiny piece of run. There would have been even one little tiny piece of evidence.
Even a wet spot.
Even a little wet spot. I mean, I examined every spot of that ground. There was nothing, except I go to turn around and walk away, and I'm like, what? And I start throwing my hands up in there, and David's looking out the window, and I'm jumping up and down, and I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my God, come and look! Oh, I can't believe this. And I'm like, get out here, oh my God, get out here! Two, not one, but two snake skins laid side by side, probably about what, 2 feet apart, foot apart.
Yeah.
And they're stretched out side by side. Oh, I don't know, 4 feet long, two of them, almost an exact spot where the watermelon was, sit right there. And they were not there the night before, because also when I set the watermelon there, I made sure, I said, I'm going to go walk the exact same line so I can be sure of where I'm placing this watermelon. So when I check in the morning, I'm sure I'm in the same spot. And there was 2 snake skins put there in its place. That's if the watermelon's gone, okay, maybe something drug, I don't know, ate it all there and it dried overnight. They just ate everything. But how is a raccoon or a deer or a fox going to put 2 snake skins in that spot and stretch them out and lay them side by side in that exact spot? There's no way that's just not possible. And then the next, like a couple days later, we went to town on a Sunday. I shouldn't have been driving. I was really tired. We just had to make a quick trip into town to get something, which was like 7 miles one way. He had a little like Nissan Coupe, and I had an SUV, so his car was lower. Well, you back in to on the side of the house where he parked. Well, I'm driving. I do a quick look, and I didn't see his car. Well, I didn't see his car because I was already too close. So I hear this loud crunch, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I hit it pretty hard. Crunched in, knocked his bumper off. It was hanging off, broke the clips, didn't crack the headlight. But my back, now this one's really hard to believe. I'm glad I have a witness on this one. I crunched in the whole back of my bumper. Now, my bumper is fiberglass. It's not like cheapy plastic where you can push it in or move it at all. It was about a basketball and a half deep, all the way in, and about a basketball and a half wide. The whole corner was completely smashed in, and it cracked the paint, of course. So I got out, and I love it's an older truck, but it's Acura, but I love this truck because it's so dependable. And I've never had any trouble. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I want this undone. I love my truck. No, please. And he's like, it's all right. It's okay. I said, you can fix this with the blow dryer or something, right? With heat. He's like, nope, this is definitely got to go to a body shop. I said, we can't afford that. I said, how much do you think? He's like, oh, probably $2,000 or a whole new bumper. So he's like, it's not a big deal. I can get some clips and fix my front bumper. So he carries the 2 bags of groceries in, what we got, and I'm outside and I'm making a big old fuss. I'm like, no, I want this undone. Please, I want this undone. Now, I kept saying that over and over and over. I want to redo. Please undo this. And I'm outside and he's like, just come on in. It's not a big deal. I'm out there making a big fuss. And all of a sudden I felt eyes on me from the wood line, and I looked. And I knew I was being looked at. I just felt, so I went in. So every day that week, this was a Sunday, I went nowhere. And it was fall, so it wasn't hot. It was cool. He's at work. He's, during the day. So I'm home and I take the dogs out. I take my Rottweiler on a leash. My other dog doesn't need a leash. And I walk by my truck, and every day I'm like, please, I want to redo. I said this all week long. So Saturday comes and he has to work. And I'm like, man, I can't sit in the house all day. I'm so depressed about my truck. I'm just going to go in. There's a fall festival and get out of the house. It's a beautiful fall day. So I walk by my truck and I look and I'm getting ready to do the same old thing again. And there's no dent. And I'm looking and I'm like, okay, I got the wrong side. And I'm like, wait, what's up? And then I look at my running board on the side that was dented in, and there's this pile of white rocks and a little flower on top of the white rocks that were stacked up like a pyramid.
Yeah, pyramid.
Yeah, maybe like, I don't know, 4 inches wide, like 3 inches high. And it was on the same side that the dent was fixed. So he gets home late Saturday, and I've totally forgot to tell him. I couldn't even believe it. So Sunday morning, we're watching church, and I'm like, oh, thanks for fixing my truck. But I wish you wouldn't have spent the money on the credit card. We don't have money like that. It wasn't that big of a deal. I'll get over it. And he laughs. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you fixed my truck. He's like, Carrie, I didn't know your truck was broken. And I said, the dent. You fixed the dent. He's like, no, I didn't. I'm like, yeah, you did. There's no dent. And we're arguing. I'm like, just come on, let me show you. And he goes outside and he looks and he starts scratching his head and laughing. And I said, and look what they left me. And he's like, you know what did this, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was unbelievable. It was, I mean, obviously you could still see the paint was all
the little line,
but the dent itself was pushed back in.
Completely
and then the little pile of rocks, all quartz, all little white stones. That's another thing. There was nothing but white quartz rocks. And then it had like one of them little yellow tiny flowers sitting on top of it. And I just couldn't believe it. I mean, it was just like, I don't know how they could have done it, but something did it. I mean, because it was pushed out.
Completely smoothed out. Completely smoothed out.
I don't think a human could have pushed that. I mean,
and it wasn't hot, and I didn't go anywhere.
No.
I mean, there was no way it could have just, and it was too deep to have popped itself back out. And like I said, this was fiberglass, a really hard bumper.
No, not only that, but then the rock pile after that.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
put the two together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's like, we got you. You know, it was just another
Confirmation.
bizarre story.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you got tired of all this going on in Tennessee, and you decide to move to Kentucky to get away from it. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, when we let me back up a little bit. When we were in Tennessee, we were walking down the railroad tracks one time, and we had something chasing us. We had our dogs, and we get to where it's like that spot where there's no people, and all of a sudden it sounds like a bulldozer driving through the woods, hitting a tree. Remember, just take a full-size bulldozer dump truck, and you're driving it through the woods, and you hit a tree. You can hear smashing the tree, and the whole tree, just coming down.
Yeah.
And then,
Boom.
and you almost could hear it running like a dinosaur. And I'm like, I froze. I'm like, holy crap. And David's like 10 feet in front of me with one dog on a leash, and I'm in the back. And I'm like, David, did you hear that? And he's like, yeah, come on, let's keep walking. I'm like, no, let's not keep walking. Let's go back. Are you freaking nuts? I want to go home. And he's like, forget them. Let's keep going. And he's like, they haven't heard of shit. I'm like, I want to go home. So then we keep walking, and we walk a little further, and he's like, oh, it was the wind. And I look, and I'm like, there's no wind. And then it happens again. Sounds like a full dump truck. Boom, hits a tree. You can hear the whole tree come down slow motion. It was so ungodly loud. And I'm like, I want to go home. And he's like, come on. I asked him later, I'm like, why did you want to keep walking? He was like, I don't know.
Yeah, it was just like, I didn't want to believe it. You know, my mind didn't want to think that it was something like Bigfoot related or I just like my mind just couldn't process it, I guess, is the only thing.
And then we went to leave Tennessee. When we finally went to, well, let me back up. The last time I saw one in Tennessee it was about a week before we left. I was going to town to get some some packing tape, and I had my dog. He's looking at the end of our road is a big bridge, and it's the river. You can go left or you can go right and go into town. And it's like 8 o'clock in the morning. There's nobody or nothing around. All of a sudden, he locks on to the edge of the wood line, and it's like a big sheer rock wall that goes up there. And he's looking at something, and he's growling like the meanest growl. And I'm like, oh no! And I look over, and I'm staring so hard, and I don't see anything. So I said, what is it, buddy? It's okay. It's okay. And I look over and I see these 2 deer legs. Well, they're not just normal deer legs. First of all, they're snapped off at the knees. And when I say snapped off, they're snapped off because you can see one bone up this high and the other bones like, this high. And then it's all serrated where you can tell they were snapped. And if you're a hunter, you don't snap deer legs off at the knees. It's not how you skin a deer. And the fur and everything was twisted around the legs, like round and round and round, like if you wring out a towel. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm trying to like debunk everything I can before I just go to like the scary stuff. Something, okay, it got hit. And I'm looking in the road, there's no blood. I'm like, okay, it got hit and it got drug off. And I'm looking and I don't see any vultures, no blood. And I'm like, no deer. And I'm like, okay, it got, I don't know what it got. So I'm getting ready and I'm leaning, and it's on the passenger side. So I'm leaning up from the driver's side. I'm leaning over to the passenger side, looking out that window. And I'm getting ready to get out of the truck and walk over there and look, because there's nobody around. There's no traffic. And all of a sudden, I see one little drop of blood come out. And at that second, I knew it just happened. So I took off. I'm like, nope, getting out of here. And I drive a little farther, and all of a sudden, I hear in my head, stop. So I stopped, and I'm on the road a little ways from our house, like a mile and a half from our house, and there's this huge 20-foot high, just sheer rock wall ledge. And I look up there on the ridge, and I see a Bigfoot stand there. And it's the sun is at its back. The sun is still coming up, I guess, and it's at its back. And it looked like orangey kind of fur. I don't know if it was the same one or not, but the sunlight behind it was so bright, I still couldn't get a good look at its face. But it was so big, and it was standing there with its arms out, the same kind of stance. And it was looking at me. And I said in my head, because I knew it had already talked to me in my head. So, and when I had realized they were real, I had to try to figure out what they were. And I read my Bible, so the only thing I could think of was maybe they're Nephilim, because they have abilities we don't have. So I said to it in my head, are you a Nephilim? Are you Nephilim? And it actually answered me back in the same slow way it said before. It said exactly the same. We are just like people, some good, some bad. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta get my phone. I looked down fraction of a second to get my phone out of my front pants pocket. I looked back up and it was gone. No, of course, no picture. But I do want to mention something that is kind of important that I had forgotten. Back in Tennessee, in the middle of all this, one day when I was doing dishes, looking out the kitchen window, there was some spots. It was, I don't know, mid-morning, 11 o'clock-ish. The sun, was getting ready to get at the peak point of the day. So there's some at the wood line where the woods start. The back, you get a big flat backfield, and then the woods start and the mountains start to go up. Well, it's summertime, so the woods were really thick, and the edge of the wood line is dark. There's dark spots where the sun isn't hitting, and then there's a spot where the sun was hitting. All of a sudden, I look up, I'm washing dishes, and I see an actual exact outline of what a Bigfoot would look like. And it looks like if you took like a prism, like those little fake prism, I don't know what you call them, little, like a Christmas ornament prism. Yeah. What'd you call it?
A crystal.
Yes, but it had like colors coming off, like blue, yellow, like the rainbow. Its whole body, like if you shaved that down to a thin piece of paper, and its whole body was covered in that. And the only reason I saw it is because I was walking along the edge of the wood line. It was dark. Then I had to cross that gauntlet area that I called it, where the sunlight was hitting full bore right there, and it crossed over. And as soon as the sun hit it and it crossed over, I was able to see it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe what I'm seeing. And then it crossed over back into the edge of the same, path along the edge of the wood line where the sun was not, and where the sun wasn't hitting, couldn't even see it. It was like mirrored. It was like wrapped in mirror paper, its whole body. So that told me that's why you can't see them. And one other thing I want to say is in Tennessee, when we used to eat in the living room on TV trays. We called it the cat room. That's what litter boxes were and the cat toys. And we would shut that curtain at nighttime. And I said to David, it was like 9 o'clock at night. I said, did you shut that cat room curtain? And he's like, I don't know why. And I said, because we're being looked at right now. Well, we both turned our heads, and the window was about 5 feet off the ground, and I could see it from its waist up. And the window is 5 feet off the ground. Now it was turned sideways, like if it was staying straight, but the top half was twisted sideways. And we were watching TV. It was standing there looking at us, watching TV. I don't know if it was watching TV or watching us, like we were the TV. But as soon as I saw it, and I've seen it move before, it moved. I tried to think of something that people can visualize. It moved as fast as a hummingbird moved. It moved so quick. If it was running across a football field and you were looking straight and you didn't look within about a minute, it could clear a football field in 1 minute. It moves like a cartoon, supernaturally fast. That's why people always say that.
Right. I've seen how fast they move, and it's unbelievable.
Yep. And then we just couldn't take it anymore. We left to go to Kentucky thinking that, well, I'm sorry, we left to go to Indiana. And that was a nightmare. That only lasted a year. We went to Upper Indiana first, an older farmhouse out in the country. All the same stuff happening again, except this house, they were jumping on the roof. They jumped on the roof so much in this house within 5 months. The guy we bought this house from he got it from his grandparents. The whole house has been completely redone. 5 months, they wore the whole shingles off from a path to my window. My window is a typical 2-level farmhouse, and they would tap on my window at nighttime. And finally, I got so sick of it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get enough balls up to open this curtain. I don't care, because I know nothing's going to be there. Boy, was that stupid. I opened that curtain. Oh, yeah, there was something there. I couldn't see it because it was so black, but I saw these giant, David said they were amber. They were like green, yellow, glowing eyeballs the size of golf balls. And I could not see a body because it was pitch black. But what I saw was the way it was standing. The eyeballs were going like in a wave, like up and down. It was going up and down like it, and I was so terrified when I saw that. I spun around so hard and jerked that curtain back. I tore my meniscus in my knee. That's how scared I was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was so scared.
Hang on, let me say something, guys, real quick. So I've had 2 or 3 comments in a row saying that comments are being removed. None of the moderators are removing comments. It must be YouTube is removing comments for some reason. We don't know. We've had 2 people say they've buffered out of the live tonight. We had 1 person say that they was trying to leave comments and it wasn't accepting the comments. So all of the moderators have checked and there's no comments that have been removed. So flash in the pan. Please don't think that anybody's removing your comments. It's just something going on with YouTube. It's not you. I just need to get that out there. That's why my phone's been dinging and I've kind of been paying attention to the phone. So I'm sorry, guys.
This,
Go ahead.
this platform does some shady things to channels like ours. Not that there's very many of them out there.
Yeah.
We had told him what
Yeah,
to
so
make no
if you
mistake.
left a comment and it's been
Mhm.
taken down, please try again. Okay, sorry about that, Carrie.
It's okay. I wanted to, David wanted to tell you something. When we were leaving Tennessee, when we were in our trucks, the U-Haul, David was driving a big 26-foot Penske, and I was driving my truck, and we were loaded to the hilt, leaving to move to Upper Indiana, the first move. And as we went to leave, we pulled up in the front of our house to check our GPSs to make sure in case we got separated on the
At
highway.
the same time, we were putting the addresses in the phones.
Yeah.
And both of our phones just like went like wacky, like the screen just disappeared, and it would flash and go out. It was going in and out, in and out, in and out.
Both of our phones at the
And I don't know,
exact same time.
something made me say, well, guys,
Mhm.
we have to leave, for better health care. We have to get out of here. We're sorry, but we got to go.
We go. He said, "Love you guys. We gotta go. Take
Yep.
care."
I did say that.
Yep.
And oddly enough, as soon as I said that, our phones went back
Both of our
at the
phones.
same time to
Yep.
where we were, to our directions.
And we were holding our phones up because I'm like, "Look at my phone. It's acting nuts. It's going screen to screen." And he's like, "So is mine." So had both phones up at the same time, and right there in the middle of the road. And yeah, as soon as
Yeah,
he said that, both phones instantly started working again.
So, I don't know where that came from, but it's
Well,
use
all
your
the
imagination,
together,
man.
Carrie,
He said that.
it's all tied
Squat.
together in ways that some of us can understand and some of us can, but
Yeah, yeah.
understand in the end. And
Oh, it
we've been
blows your mind, man.
for an hour and a half. We've hardly left Tennessee.
Yeah, I know, right?
Right. So
Can
we were only in Indiana like a year, Upper Indiana. We had to get out of there because that was pretty bad.
There's things climbing all over the roof.
Things are climbing all over the roof.
Bigfoots, and she knew
Sniffing
there
me.
was other things not Bigfoot related. She was sitting in the car one night after we went shopping. I don't know. She was sitting there either talking to somebody or texting.
Yeah. As soon as we got back
And
from
I was
Sam's
bringing the
Club,
groceries in and house in and
It was
out the
dark.
house. It was dark,
like
pitch
8
dark,
o'clock at night.
cold.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I kept telling her to come in, come in, come in, and I kept looking out, make sure everything was okay out there. And
Mhm.
she had her door open, and she was just like kind of like
Finishing my text.
in the
Yeah.
zone. And all of a sudden, I smelt this smell, and
Yep.
it was
I almost threw up. It was so.
just
I can't-
indescribable.
It smells like if someone broke an ammonia caps
Yeah,
ammonia caps under your
yes.
nose kind of smell.
I can't even pinpoint this. I can't even describe this.
Garbage, urine.
It had so many
ammonia.
smells
I
in
know.
one smell. It's
I
like
know.
indescribable.
Throw
But
up.
I smelt that smell, and I said, "Get in here now." And she goes, "I know something. I seen something
Yep.
run by me so fast." She seen like you've heard people. Oh, I've heard people in some podcasts talking like their legs move so fast. It's like
It looked like a
it
tire.
looked like a tire. That's how
Yep.
she described it.
When I saw it out of my side, I was texting on the phone. I just got done, and my door was open. And all of a sudden, I noticed smell hit me, and then my hair stood up on my arm, and I got this. I guess it's our instinct we're all born with. I got this feeling like of intense fear,
Yeah.
and my hair stood up, and I got so scared I was about to start blowing the horn. And at that second, right before he opened the door, out of my peripheral vision on the side, we had a big pole barn in the back, and then it was just cornfields as far as the eye could go. I mean, just forever. There was nothing around. And I saw something go by so fast, I could see black knees going up and down. It looked like a tire rolling. And that thing flew by me so fast and hit the cornfield. And I heard the corn crash. And at that second, that smell hit me. And that's when I got that intense, like, I'm in danger. I'm about to disappear, kind of. And he opened the door at the same time. So he must have known something. He's like, "Get in now, get in." And I was like, I see why people throw up. I was gagging from that smell.
Very unusual smell. I've never smelt anything like it.
The first night we were at that house,
I knew it wasn't good.
yeah, it was bad. The first night we were at that house, we had an air mattress, and we had to sleep in the living room. Well, the windows were only 2 feet off the living room floor, so the window was only a few inches over my head. The first night we were there was this little gravel around the house there was a few little bushes, and I heard something sniffing me. And I'm thinking, what the heck is this? I just couldn't believe it. But I went through everything in my head, and something was outside that window sniffing me. And it sounded like Clifford the Big Red Dog sniffing me. And then, I told David the next day, and my daughter moved in with us for a short time.
She didn't know anything about this.
I didn't tell her anything about stuff jumping on the roof, anything sniffing me. And she says, guys, I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but something was last night, and I was downstairs sitting on the couch texting. I didn't have the TV on. Something was sniffing me.
Yep.
Middle of the night, something was at the window sniffing me, and I've heard stuff jumping on the roof.
Oh, man.
And this
So
is in
we
Indiana,
got-
right? This is in
That-
Indiana, Carrie?
Yes, that was in Upper Indiana, White County, Wolcott, Indiana.
And Scared Silly's been having some trouble with her live stream. She said it kept repeating itself over and over and over for 4 minutes. And thank you, Scared Silly, for that donation. She wants to
Yes,
know,
thank
are you still being visited, Carrie and David?
Yes,
Speakers. Yes.
yes.
It's
Unfortunately,
not so often, and
Yep.
it's different. Carrie feels them. It's nothing like Kentucky and Tennessee, though.
Kentucky
It's
was
different.
bad. Kentucky was
Let's talk about
terrible.
Kentucky was
Kentucky
bad.
for a few minutes,
Kentucky,
Carrie.
we heard them banging every night. They'd be banging. I don't even know where they were banging at.
Garage doors
Our garage doors would be open.
all
This is
night long.
Mammoth Cave National Park, correct?
Yeah, yep.
And
We had a lower building with garage doors.
and
they
land
would
by the lake.
Yeah. They would bang. It was a detached building below. We didn't even need it. It just came with the property, like 4-car garage. It was empty. And all night long, they would run by real quick because you could hear it. It was like bam, 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 bam. It was so loud, like all night long. It was like we never could get any sleep. And then they would
Seemed
start.
like as soon as you went to close your eyes,
Yeah,
they knew.
every
And
time.
they would start banging.
Or as soon as you fell asleep, every time they would disrupt our sleep
Uh-huh.
to where and then they would start opening the garage doors down there. There was 4 bays, and then one would be open, then the next day would be other, then the next day would be the other. So finally David had to take the whole
Unplug it.
circuit, or you had to unplug the circuit board.
Yes.
And then I think I sent you a picture. David put a cross down there, and then they hung a cross from a tree. It was like 15, 20 feet in the air, this wooden cross.
Mhm.
I don't even know how the thing was suspended hanging there. We couldn't even believe it was hanging there. And then there was a bunch of turtles the size of dinner plates, all over the front porch. Like, we were laughing. It was just so crazy. David stacked them up on top of each other, and he was carrying them all back to the woods to set them down because there was a pond. The property sat on top of a hill, and in the below part was a pond. The pond wasn't ours. It belonged to a company that never used it. But I saw this like hut. It almost looked like the shape of an outhouse, but it was made out of tree limbs. And I told David, I'm like, look at that. It was backed up right at the edge of the pond. So when deer ran by, something could be standing straight up in it and just reach out and grab a deer.
Uh-huh.
It was not man-made. Nobody went there. And there was 2 caves on the property. And I said to David, look at this cave on this property. I said, and it was winter time when we moved in, I said, why don't we go there and check it out? We were not going to go in it. We were just going to kind of explore a little bit, see what the heck it was. As soon as I said that, we were going to church the next day, and David was like, oh my gosh, look over here. Look at this. Look in front of this cave. Tell him what was in front of the cave.
It was this tree was about, I don't know, it was maybe 15 feet high. The tree was twisted, and it was
like a
It wasn't just
cow,
one
round
broken,
and
yeah.
round and round,
It was highly unusual.
right in front of the cave.
I've done tree work all my life. So
Yeah, it was a
wasn't-
lineman.
It wasn't a break. So it was it was just twisted. It's the only way to describe it.
Right
This
in
tree-
front of the cave,
Yeah, right in front of the cave.
and no other tree was touched.
No other tree was touched, and it was just like another sign that.
Yep. And they were jumping on the roof there, and just it was really bad there. It was, I don't know, it was bad. And then stuff would tap on the way. I think I sent you some pictures. We had a bad storm one day, and we had no power, and the power went out at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I heard something out front, and I felt them out front. So I didn't look. I was too scared to look after the last time I decided to be brave and look.
She'd always feel them across the street by
Yeah.
the mailbox. She'd always know.
Yep.
She'd always knew when they're looking at her.
So I
She had that.
stuck my phone out on the other side of the window, and I didn't look, but I put my phone right up against the window and just started snapping pictures. And those are the pictures that I sent you too, of all those like orbs and crazy. It was like a light wand bent. And remember all those pictures I sent you?
Yes, we're going to get into them here in just a minute, Carrie. This Kentucky location, is that where you saw the thing climbing up the side of your house that you did not?
Yes.
Bigfoot?
Yes.
And
And my daughter saw it too.
you know how you get oxidation like on the outside of your house?
Oh yeah,
Now,
listen
keep
to
this
this.
in mind. Now, this is about 12, 15 feet high. We had a window above our bedroom.
Skinny
and
little long
you
window.
can see where they would be trying to look in the window. You'd see their fingerprints.
Like greasy.
Yep.
Yeah, that's, I
Way
think I
up
sent
high.
you that too. Pictures of that.
Where the they wore off the oxidation from moving
So many
around and trying to
peek in the window.
get in the
Uh-huh.
window. It was, it was nuts, man. I couldn't even believe it that they would be trying to peek in like that.
Oh, and then one time when they were outside the window, I told David, I heard there was the craziest thing. I heard what sounded just like a lion at the zoo roar.
Yeah.
When the people say roar, it wasn't like a scream. It wasn't like it was an actual roar, like a lion at the zoo roar. It was so ungodly loud. I was laying down. My pillow actually got the vibration waves from this roar in Kentucky that went through. I was in shock. I was like, oh my gosh, wake up, wake up. And then the next day, it was like we were still trying to decide whether we were going to stay, go, what we're going to do. Stuff was half unpacked, stuff was still packed up. We lived the past 3 years, we've lived packed up out of a suitcase basically.
Yeah.
And we're taking a nap, and we have the windows open because it's a nice day. It's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then all of a sudden,
We heard this roar. Yeah, just this ungodly roar. Almost sounded like a pterodactyl.
and it lasted so
Something
long.
prehistoric.
It's
Like
so
prehistoric.
loud. And we both looked at each other, woke up, looked at each other like, oh my gosh, did you just hear that?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm like, we had this thing climbed up the side of the house in Kentucky. My daughter saw it too. The only way I can describe it, it looked like a skeleton.
Her daughter has a lot of the same.
Yeah, my daughter, for some
Powers,
reason,
yeah.
I don't know, she's been able to see ever since she was 2 years old. She calls it a curse. She's been able to see demons and angels ever since she was 2 years old.
And other things.
Yeah, and other things.
Yeah.
And actually, I can't. I'm glad I can't see that, but she can.
You can see
and-
some things though that she sees.
Yeah, but she's seen the same thing crawling up. It looked like its legs were like, I don't know, almost like if its pants were cut off and were like jagged, like a Halloween costume kind of pants. Like it was dragging its legs, and it had a big long like white skeleton head, but its head was kind of stretched out like that mask Scream, except the eyeballs were big white and they were glowing. They were glowing white. And that thing was climbing up the side of the house, trying to peek in the window too. And that's when I told David, I'm like, we got to get out of here. We have to get out of here. I'm like, I don't care where we go. I don't care how much we sell this house for. We're selling this house. We've bought and sold 4 houses since 2022. and we've lived out of a suitcase. We're out of money. We can't outrun these things anymore. So I'm like, we didn't like neighborhoods. We like living in the country. We like wildlife. I'm like, we're going to have to go to a neighborhood because they don't like to be around people and they don't like light. So that's where we're at. We're in the neighborhood now, and we've lit the place up as much as we could.
Right.
And the man that bought our house, the people that bought our house, a lady called me 12 days after they bought our house, and I got some hysterical message on my phone. A very nice lady. I became friends with her, and I introduced her to our church we were going to across the street and everything else, and left a bunch of stuff for them. And she called me and was hysterical and said her husband died and a bunch of weird stuff was going on and she couldn't explain it. We met the man. He was fine. David and him sat in the garage and had a great conversation. He looked perfectly fine. So he died 12 days after buying our house and didn't even know why. No, don't know why. Just died.
Right.
And I knew if we didn't get out of there, something was going to happen.
Right. Now, was this in Edmonson County, Carrie?
No, this was in Butler County, Morgantown, Kentucky. Yep.
It was close to Land of the Lakes.
No, it was kind of
About
close
30
to both,
minutes.
like 30 minutes.
Mammoth Cave.
Yep.
Land of the Lakes.
Yep.
I'm sure your audience has heard the stories of the Land of the Lakes. It's very
Between the lakes, I've got about 25 of them up on this channel already, and that's where we've been getting all our evidence here lately.
Oh, I bet.
There was we did notice when we were looking for houses, there was a lot of really nice houses for very cheap in that area. And David brought that up, and I'm like, that is the worst idea. But obviously, I don't think that we didn't pick much better of a place.
No.
It was a beautiful home. That home was custom built, but we couldn't stay there, and it was sad. There was a hot tub, a big, beautiful back deck. I mean, but I knew if we didn't get out of there, one of us was. And every day, the headaches were ungodly. Every single day, David was so sick with the migraine and headache, and so was I. I was going to the doctor left and right for migraines, nausea. We were going through so much nausea medicine. The doctor finally said, if you take Dramamine, that's the same thing as nausea medicine. We were taking that just because, and since we've been here, no, not headaches like that. But no, the first night we moved here, they let us know that we were here. The first night we were here, we live in the house is wood. There's no vinyl siding, and it's like a tri-level. And there's two big front windows, and there's a big space in between the front windows. Two giant boom, boom, real loud thuds hit the front of the house. Two giant mud balls hit the front of the house, and they only hit the front of the house as soon as I said to David, "Wow, I guess the Bigfoots didn't follow us." I'm never going to learn to keep my big fat mouth shut because it's like they can hear me. I don't know. When I went to do something with you last week, that bizarre thing happened. That's never happened. That's just
She
weird.
started to get sick before the show.
Yeah, I started to get sick that same day before the show. Like
Today. She started to get sick today.
Yeah, I started to get sick today before the show too. Like had to take nausea medicine and migraine medicine just out of the blue for no reason. Yep. It's almost like they can hear me.
Right. That doesn't surprise me. I'm glad that you could overcome that and be on the show, you and David. Been phenomenal guests. And I hope everyone's listening very closely to what you say.
It's dangerous. Nobody wants this.
You got to be aware. You got to be aware. If you're going to be hiking, always have a partner.
Yes. Never go alone. Yep.
So we're going to show some pictures now, Carrie. Now,
great. Okay.
There's no rhyme or reason. Okay. So you have to explain what they are and where you took them at. Okay. What state.
Sure. Okay.
Let's go ahead and get started here.
Right, I'm just going to start with the first one I have.
Okay. Yep. That's the pictures in Kentucky. That is the pictures that they left. David left the rocks right there on the first rock, and they did the second one with the cross. That's one of the crosses they left.
Okay.
Let me get rid of
That's in the back, behind the house, the below garage building.
Okay.
I'm
Next
trying to
one,
make this bigger, but I don't know how to
Oh,
do it.
you're fine. You're fine.
let's just go to the next one.
All right, the next picture.
Oh, that's the deer legs I found in Tennessee, twisted off where I was talking about. Oh, and the spine. The spine was ripped out too, a few feet from that. Right before I saw the Bigfoot standing on the ridge when I asked it what it was, if it was a Nephilim, and it didn't answer me. It said, just like people, some good, some bad. I don't know. That was the answer I got. I tried.
Right.
Because I want to know like everybody else does. Oh, yeah, that's down there at the Wildlife Reserve in Newport. It was called Rankin Hill Wildlife Management Refuge.
Definitely
And
not a Bigfoot.
that was that was bigger. That print was about the size of a dinner plate right there, like a full-size dinner plate.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So
And there was only one.
It's an unusual print.
very.
And that was in Tennessee. That was one of the stories I was going to tell you, but there's so many. That was right behind our house in the field. I found that it was right at the edge of that tree was alive. It looked like fingers dug into it like a piece of chocolate cake. And at the bottom of it is all shredded like it was looking for, I don't know, worms or something. But yeah, that tree was alive. That was right behind our house in Tennessee.
Wow.
If you look closely up top, you can see the fingerprints. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can see the fingerprints clearly. 4 of them.
Oh, and that was like 10 feet off the ground. Those fingerprints, at least 10 feet, maybe higher.
It's like they were digging for something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is a deer head.
Okay, that is one of the beds that I found. Of course, I got my dumb writing in the way, but that is a deer, part of a deer head hanging from, I don't know what. I don't even know how it's suspended there. Some kind of twine. Oh, at least 10, 12 feet in the air. But underneath of that is that rectangle woven bed, one of the beds that David and I were talking about, right off the railroad tracks that I found, like out in the middle of, nowhere. Just, it's not a normal path where anybody would go or could go. I don't even know what that was. And those sticks are snapped off where you can see they're all fresh, brand new, clean breaks.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And it was a soft material too. It was like really.
And that's when we put a trail cam out in Tennessee, right in front of our house. Trail cams are a joke, total waste of money, never work. They always disappeared, malfunction, didn't work, batteries don't work.
Batteries get
that was in Tennessee. First night, we put it out right in front of the house. No idea what that is. No clue. Yeah,
Wow.
but I didn't have a computer, so I had to take a picture of that with my phone. But that was from the trail cam. Yep. And that was the part, that whole back corner of my truck was pushed in, and now it's popped out. Now my truck's fixed. I guess I got my redo.
Yes, you did.
Yes, you did.
right. For free. It only cost us 4 houses.
Right.
There's all the turtles. That's only a few of them. There was 4, 5, 6 of them. They were stacked. They were stacked up like steaks on the front porch. It's crazy.
Wow. And that's Kentucky.
That's Kentucky. Yeah. It's so crazy. And the thing is, our front porch, we had 2 concrete steps, like a normal, 6, 8 foot high step. Turtle, they don't climb steps. Not like that. And not turtles that big.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not too good at steps.
No. Oh, yeah, that's one of the light orbs. When we lost power that day at 4:00 in the afternoon that night, when I felt the Bigfoots out front, and I almost felt like they were telling me, hey, watch this. Like, hey, we're going to do a trick. Watch this. So I didn't do like, hey, I'm brave enough to look on the other side of the curtain. I just shoved my hand behind the curtain and pushed my phone right up against the window and started snapping pictures, and that's what I captured. Not a clue. Not,
Also, she would hear like a humming sound, and then she'd see a flash.
oh
This
yeah,
would happen quite often in Kentucky, like something was opening up, possibly a portal.
yeah,
In the middle of our hallway.
yeah.
She'd see this
Yeah.
flash.
Oh yeah. From top to bottom, the whole hall light. It was like if you took like a light, I mean, as big around as like the hood of a truck and put it in a hallway, like the whole hall light, almost like if an angel like it appeared and the whole hallway just would be a quick flash, and it would actually hurt. I would wake up right before it would happen because I'd hear a humming sound, almost like, oh gosh, I don't know how, I don't know, like a some kind of like, I don't know, like just like a humming, like a machine, just some kind of humming, high pitch, and then I would see that flash. Oh yeah, there's a finger right in that same tree. Yep, they dug the fingers in that same tree in Tennessee. Yep, that's the light. Same time that light in Kentucky. That same night that our power was out. That's so crazy. Oh, and that's the cross they hung from the tree in Kentucky behind our house. That's so crazy. And David had made a cross out of rocks, and then that's what they suspended in the air. What? How high would you say?
Oh, 30 feet.
30 feet. Yeah.
30 feet?
Yeah. And it was
Wow.
just hanging there. I don't even know how they got it. I don't even know how it's hanging there. Like I couldn't even see anything. Fishing line? I don't know. But there was nobody around that's going to come to our house and do anything like that. The cross, remember the wooden cross?
Yeah.
That was so crazy. That was so nuts. That was so crazy.
Same.
Oh yeah.
I got that
There's
one
a
twice.
yep.
That's from Kentucky. And
Oh, that's in Kentucky. And that's that same night that we didn't have power and I knew something was out there. And to me, that looks like a face. That looks like, I don't know.
Right by the flagpole.
That was right by the flagpole, and I don't know, but I kept envisioning that something or someone was buried there. Whether they were, I don't know, but that's the picture I took, and it looks like a face to me, right outside in front of our house. Oh yeah, here's the fingerprints.
I see them.
Yep.
Yeah, fingerprints on your siding. Now, is that 2 stories up or just 1 story?
That's 2 stories.
Well, that's in Kentucky,
Yeah, so it's
but it was happening at every house. So this is the one in Kentucky.
it's about, I don't know,
15 feet.
15
It's pretty.
feet.
Yeah, it's pretty high,
I can't quite see them
right there.
barely.
But you already know.
I don't want the people to be able to see them.
They can see him.
Yeah, you can see
Yeah, I
them.
think I might have another one on here.
It was like they were
Yeah.
greasy. It's like and they stuck a couple on the wall
You
too.
had to see it. It's one of them.
There
things
you go,
had to
right
see
here.
and believe it.
They were jumping on this back. This is the back garage building. It was a 4.5 car.
Before we moved there, you couldn't see any of that red because
They were jumping and running across there at nighttime, and you could hear them run across it because it was like,
their playground.
yeah, it was like footsteps, like boom, 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 boom. They run across it, and within a few weeks of living there, all the paint started getting peeled off, and that wall you could see like greasy. It's like their hands are oily, like super oily,
Yeah.
and when they
Mhm.
touch something, they leave prints.
You're right, Carrie. They are.
So you've heard other people say their hands are oily.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I
What is that?
think that's
A
that.
broken tree.
Yeah, that's a broken tree behind the house in Kentucky where they broke that, and that's where that cross was hanging. That's the same tree. That's not the twisted tree. I don't think we got a picture of that. We saw it from the road, and I was not. Yep, that's them.
Yep.
That's their little stack back to David. I don't even know what that. Yep. And this was, believe it or not, this was in my bedroom in Kentucky one night. I woke up out of the blue. My cat, I don't know what's with this cat. She's special. She was like God sent to me. She alerts me when anything is around. She'll start crying and she'll start tapping me, believe it or not, on the forehead and meowing. When anything is around, she goes nuts, clawing at the window. I mean, she goes crazy when they're there. And she started tapping me on the forehead and meow, meow, meow. And I opened my eyes and saw this in the corner of the room. And it almost looks like a little fairy or like a little angel. It has wings. And it was in the corner of the room in Kentucky. And I have no idea what this thing is. I was just sitting there looking at it like, what do you do? So I just went back to sleep, prayed and went back to sleep.
Right. There's a hair.
Oh, the hair.
Oh, that's the hair I found.
Yep, on the hot tub. Uh-huh.
I think we still have that hair.
Yeah, we do.
We didn't get to
Very
it.
unusual
We
looking.
haven't talked about the Bigfoot inside your home. We haven't talked about your great grandmother's diary.
Oh, yeah.
So we have to set up another time for you guys to come out and finish your story.
There's a plane.
Oh, yeah,
It doesn't look like an airplane, but it's something up there. Now, you
Oh,
know,
helicopter.
complete disclosure from the United States government that these UFOs, are called UAPs now. They are real. And they I've been telling everybody for decades, and I also told them that they did not come from outer space. I've been saying that for decades now.
They're here.
They come from the ocean. They do not come from outer space.
I agree.
Nope.
I agree. Yeah, and the pictures of those dogs' heads or wolves or whatever, when the Bigfoot, after the mud balls were thrown, I was like, why are you here? Yeah, those are in Kentucky. All those were in the backyard we took. And I said, why are you here? And they said, to protect you from the wolves. And I'm like, wolves? And that's when I took a bunch of pictures of these dog heads here,
That was
right down the street.
Yeah, it was right in our backyard. There was a couple of them.
That's in Kentucky. There was a couple of those pictures. Yeah. Yep. It rained quite a bit there. Oh, here we go. Oh yeah. This is here. We've only been here since September, and I like to walk 2 houses down. It's a very beautiful spot. It's a dead end cul-de-sac, thick woods. It backs up to the Wabash River. And I like to walk there in the evening right before dark because everyone else is done walking their dogs. And this was the night before, and I said in my head to the Bigfoots when I knew they were at the window, why are you here again? Like, why are you here again? And they said, to protect you from the wolves. And I'm like, wolves? That was what they called it. And that night I walked my dog. He started growling. He started alerting to something. He was in his stance. And all of a sudden I could see the hay or dead grass moving. And I felt and heard myself being surrounded. And I kept looking and I could see nothing. And I was looking as hard as I could see and I could see nothing. So I knew something was there. And I just picked my phone up and just started snapping pictures like crazy and went home and looked. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's like dog heads there. So before I said anything, I showed a couple people like David. I'm like, what do you see? He's like, dog heads. The black one with the white eyes, the one that really scares me. And there was a big one in the background. I guess that's the wolves they're talking about. I don't know. I don't know what those are. Hellhounds? I mean, they don't look like dog men people like to me. They look like dogs. They look like hellhounds. Here's another footprint. This is, Kentucky.
Yep, well disguised.
Now this is the low garage building behind our house in Kentucky where they started tearing all the paint off this one too, jumping up and down this one. The house in Indiana was $18,000. This is here. This is right down the street. Same night, not this October, I was walking the dog and all of a sudden I started seeing the edge of woodline. These 2 big deer ran out. And the deer were looking at me and looking at the woods and looking at me. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. And then all of a sudden, I started seeing this big swirling mass, the white big blob thing right in front of this black creature. And it was swirling round and round. And then I saw this black thing behind it that looked like it had arms and was standing upright. It had pointy ears. I couldn't see any facial features. At one point, it was solid. Then it was almost, transparent and solid and transparent, but it almost looked like it was either coming in or going out of the swirling thing. I guess it was a portal opening up in front of it.
Yep.
And this was right down the street.
A lot of people don't believe in those portals, but they're real. And you can see this thing plain as day. You can see it has 2 large pointed ears.
Yep, and I'm standing there like, oh my gosh, I'm in a flipping neighborhood, and this stuff is right here. There's nowhere I can go.
Right?
Sounds like what happened with Truthy Ruthie
Yeah.
in the neighborhood with a dog man.
Yeah, there's nowhere you can go. If they want, they're gonna follow you. Yep, that's Kentucky footprint.
Yeah, I
This
believe
is
we're
he-
protected.
This is here. Yep. And this is that same spot where the two deer, if you can see really closely, that's right before it got dark. Those two deer ran out. And the crazy thing is, get this, the deer, right after they ran out, were looking at me and looking at this thing. They didn't just lie down, they kind of fell down on their side. Like if you shoot a deer, it just falls down. I'm like, what the heck? Like these two deer literally just fell down. I was just standing there in shock. Like I couldn't even believe what I was seeing.
Like they were stunned.
Yeah, like they got hit with the taser is what it looked like.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, David, I'm going to ask you a question here. We're out of time, but I want to know
Yes,
have
sir.
you been able to come to any conclusions after being exposed to all this, you and Carrie?
Oh my gosh. Well, I can say that there's a lot of things out there that we don't know about. I used to think the woods were like just, an open place where there was nothing but trees and birds and flowers, but now I know better. And I wouldn't feel comfortable going anymore, like by myself, like on a long hike through the woods. It's just not safe now. Now that I know that there is things out there, and I don't think everything out there wants to harm you, but there are things out there that will. There's a lot of our forests, our national forests, dangerous places to be.
Right.
Dangerous places to be. A lot of missing people.
It
411.
seems like nobody cares anymore
Missing 411. That's
because there's so many of them. It's like they nobody cares anymore
exactly.
except the people whose loved ones are missing.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Right. Well, there's so much of your story, you and Dave's story, Carrie, that we have yet to even touch upon. So
No.
I would agree to it. We'd love to get you back on here sometime in the future and talk about your things that we missed, like your great grandmother's
Oh yeah.
her
Yep.
dying and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
several stories that it's hard to get 9 years of experiences into two.
I know, right?
yeah.
I
hours.
know.
What do you think, guys? Would you like for Carrie and David to come back sometime? Let us know in the comments, please. And we want to thank you, Carrie and Dave.
Yes, we thank you for having us. I'm sorry, last time, but
Yeah,
we're
so
here
much,
now. Yeah.
Sorry if there's any kind of like confusion and stuff about the dates and the time and the places. It's just, it's very hard when you're,
Right.
it's just.
But I think the only thing that can protect us is not running. You can't run. They're going to go. If they want you, they're going to go wherever you go. We can't outmove them. All we did was run out of money. We can't move them. The only thing that's protected us is Jesus. That's the only thing that has kept us protected this whole time.
Right.
And we make sure we pray that prayer every single night together to protect our home, our family, our animals, our property. Like we discussed before, crystals, sage, rocks, salt. I've tried all of that ridiculous stuff. Little St. Christopher pen. Yeah, they're great and they're nice to have. But they don't work. They don't work. They don't work.
In faith. That's what saves you from these
Exactly.
things.
That's the only thing. That is the only thing that is. If they wanted me, they could have had me so many times. So many times. But they know. I think I don't know if you've talked to Harley or not, but I sent Harley Owens. He's from Newport. I sent him to where the Rankin Hill Wildlife Management Refuge. I sent him to where I had been, and I told him. I said, I want you to mention my name when you're down there. And he did. And he said that as soon as he mentioned my name, and his nephew was with him. And he said they went berserk. They started hooping, hollering, throwing stuff, growling, making all kinds of racket, commotion. And he said he had it all on video. And he said his nephew was terrified, wanting to run, and he told him not to run. And he said he went to send me the video, and guess what? Phone, zip, nothing on there, all wiped off. Yep. And I said,
No coincidence.
yeah, but I think you're right. I think they went, and that bothered me for a long time. I think they went berserk when he mentioned my name because they know I believe in Christ, and I think that they're not. I don't think think you're right, 100%. They're not here to protect me like a wolf in sheep's clothing. They're fooling me, thinking we're here to protect you. Yeah,
right.
I think
Exactly. Protecting you, you wouldn't have all these ill effects.
Exactly. And we wouldn't have had to move 4 times and headaches. And David's been out of work going on 15 months now from shoulder injuries. That still will not heal. And they don't know why. I mean, that's exactly right. Yep. If they were protecting us, we wouldn't be going through everything that we're going through. And not just me, but my children have been affected by this too. They won't even come and visit me. They will not come anywhere I live because when they did, they've been witness to this stuff too much, and they're scared. They won't come anymore, and I don't blame them. Right.
Well, we have a unanimous opinion that you guys should come back sometime. So whenever you're ready to do that, Carrie, you just let us know and we'll set that up. Okay.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you having me. And I hope that at least we can help one person sharing our story, knowing that it bothers me when people say, I see it all the time, I just want to have one experience. No, you don't. No, you don't. I feel like crying right now. You don't, because this has totally changed like our whole entire lives. Like, we used to hike and kayak and fish and bicycle, and there's sometimes where months I don't even leave the house anymore because I get to these points where I feel like I have PTSD. I'm terrified because I know that there's things out there that I still can't wrap my brain around. But then I tell myself, if Jesus is real, so are demons, and that's what these are. It already says that demons have been loose in this world, that this world is of demons. So they're here. And I believe that that's what they are. The Bible says it. So I just have to tell myself I'm protected and I'm safe. But you don't want this experience. And you should feel blessed that you don't have to go through this, because this is not something that anybody wants. They're not like people have said, Harry and the Hendersons, where you're going to have a picnic with them and shake their hand and take pictures and, be your friend and go eat lunch with them and have a chat. No, that you're going to disappear. If they want you gone, you're going to disappear in a snap of a finger, and nobody's going to look for you except your loved ones, because there's so many missing people.
And there's nothing anyone can do anyway.
Exactly. And there's nothing anyone can do. And if they do know the truth, no one's going to tell it. No one's going to tell the truth of what happened to you, because they don't want anybody to know.
It'll be all covered up.
Yeah, it'll be all covered up. It'll be like you got drunk and you drowned, or you had a mental breakdown.
Something real quick in Newport, Tennessee, there was some attacks.
Oh.
2 people were attacked, and they kept saying it was a dog attack. It was a dog attack, and this is right down the street from us. And
the girls were killed, mauled.
They were mauled, and they were saying there were 2 pit bulls, the neighbor's pit bull, but they can never prove it DNA wise, and the dogs still stayed on that property.
Yeah, they DNA tested the dogs. The dogs had no DNA from these girls that were mauled, and one of the girls was so traumatized in the hospital in Newport, she couldn't even speak when they talked. Yeah, she had to go to a mental institution and ended up dying. And that happened 2 years in a row, not too far from where we lived in Newport, Tennessee. It was all over that local news for a little while, and then it just got swept under the rug, and that was it. And nothing happened to it.
Carrie and David now live in northern Indiana, but these experiences followed them for 4 or 5 states now. So they're in Indiana.
And my family line, which we'll get into another time. Yeah.
Right. So my advice is, don't let these things take away your love of nature and the things that you do. You take your faith you take your faith right with you, go everywhere you want to go, and don't fear anything. We're not supposed to fear
Exactly.
anything in this world.
Yep.
God.
And since you gave, and since you gave me that advice last time we spoke, I've really, I don't know, I've like put a pep in my step and say, no, that's, it stops here. It stops now. That's it. I'm not afraid of you. You want to bang on the window, but I'm not afraid of you because I already know who won this war and it wasn't you. So I'm not going to fear them anymore. I'm not living in fear because we don't get these wasted years back of living in fear.
Right.
I might get a redo on my truck, but I don't get a redo on the years of my life being wasted, hiding in the house for months or being afraid. And as I get older, you get to do less things. So I'm not going to live in fear anymore. And
That's good,
thank you for that advice. It helped me a lot.
And Jesus Christ give us dominion over, as men, he give us dominion over every animal on earth. So we're not to fear God only, and God will take care of the rest.
Exactly. Exactly right.
If you guys get back on again, because it's been such a great conversation. 2 hours.
Thank you, guys.
Minutes.
Thank you. You have a blessed night. Thank you, guys.
Have a good
Take
night.
care.
Have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Stay in touch.
Thank you. We will. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow, that was interesting.
Very
night.
interesting
Very interesting
conversation, right?
Mhm.
Hope you guys have learned something from all that knowledge that Carrie and David were giving out for free. A lot of people go their whole lives and they don't find one answer concerning these things. And I think he found a few that at least should lead you to believe that a lot of this stuff is connected or linked. But we're already way past our time, so we're going to thank everyone who donated. I think that was Sister Catherine. And
well, we have Henry become a new member. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Henry.
Thank you so much, Catherine, Sister Catherine, for the $10 super sticker.
Thank you, Sister.
Jenny Marie for becoming a member for 10 months. Thank you, Jenny, with the G.
Thank you for staying with us, Jenny.
Sean Garcia said, I think CERN is the reason I wanted to put this up. We're seeing all the UAPs and cryptids around. They open these portals and they don't know how to control them.
Yeah, you could be right, Sean. But I've always said there is no life in outer space. And, that's a hard fact. It is a fact. It's a hard fact for most people to swallow. Outer space it's not what you think it is. It's very, very simple. You've been lied to. The Bible tells us what it is.
Sorry, I missed this one. James Leto said, were they trying to warn her of the illness? I don't know.
No, they were causing the illness, according to her.
Okay, I'm glad you got that one. I didn't hear that one. Thank you, Scott, for becoming a member for 13 months. Abnormal investigations. I wondered if radiation comes from the vision that comes down into them. I don't know. It's scary. So
Definitely radiation involved. I've been saying that for years, and I've known since 1975 from examining the carcasses of the dead animals that these creatures left on our farm. Nothing would eat them. No carrion would eat them. Flies would not even land on these carcasses. So the carrion eaters would stay away. The coyotes would stay away, and the turkey vultures would all stay away. So
thank you, Scared Silly. Great live. Truly enjoyed sharing stories. I'm wondering, we answered that question. And Colonel L. Davis become a new member. Thank you. I do want to go to this topic real quick and just get your. So what is all the talk about alien invasion on December 3rd? I haven't heard about it. I have heard about something going on the 3rd, but I did not know it was an alien invasion. Did you know anything about it? Do you guys know anything about it?
Right. I haven't heard anything about it. I haven't been watching much TV lately, so I don't know anything about December 3rd. But we want to make sure we say prayers for Carrie and David that, they'll be all right and these things will leave them alone. I know we have several people in the audience that believes that they're good. Some of these creatures are good, some are bad, and that could be true. But we just want to make sure that we pray, keep them in our prayers, that everything goes well, and the creatures around them are not the evil kind that likes to eat human beings. So
somebody asked if you would say a prayer for them before we leave.
Yes, we definitely will. So we'll do that right now. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you in contrite spirit, ask that you keep Carrie and David safe and deliver them from the evil that's infiltrating their lives and ruining their lives for the last 9 years. Please be with them and stay with them. In Jesus Christ, our Savior's name, we pray. Amen.
Mm.
And you guys can do that too, please. Everyone needs prayer. No prayer is wasted. So, what else have we got, baby?
That's it for us.
That's about it.
Yep. That's
Okay,
it for
guys.
us.
So hopefully we'll be back Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Central with some more good guests, and we're going to have Carrie and Dave come back as soon as they can. There's so much that we did not cover. And I've talked to Carrie and Dave several times over the phone, and they were telling me so many things, and it's going to take more than one interview to get them all brought to light. She has a diary, and her whole family's been experiencing these things for literally decades and decades. So we're definitely going to have them return, and hope you guys can be here next Wednesday night. Who we have lined up, baby?
Oh, well, maybe Jonestead Farm and her daughter Tiffany. Maybe.
Okay, great.
That hasn't been confirmed yet. We're hoping that's going to happen, but it may be at 7 o'clock, not 8.
Okay,
They have to work.
right. So
So.
we might just move the time to 7, so it's not so inconvenient for the guests and the viewers. You know, so we'll be over with at 9 and plenty of time to get in bed and all that stuff. So God bless each and every one of you. Thank you so much for showing up tonight. It was always a blessing to share a little of our time with you, and we're so humbled and honored that you feel that we're worthy to spend a little time with. And remember, when things get bad, don't be scared. Be prepared. Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the light. And there is no other name under heaven by which we can be saved from evil. So have a great one, guys. We love you all. And until next Wednesday night, take care and God bless. Be safe.
Good night, everybody.
Happy holidays.